Hi there, and welcome back. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about DIY and essentially a small tricks for doing refactoring using tuple. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the last video, we were doing the pass argument with Linux. Well, with the Linux style, separating the code, the short options from this to this, right? And at the end, one of the code was looking at like this. When we're dealing with the single character options, we have the two different syntax. One is the equal syntax, one without, right? And then you can see we left it at this, which these two code are very similar. So if we want to refactor this, how are we going to do it, right? We can we extract functions out of it? The problem, yes, of course we can, and but the lines, the difference are this and this, right? So if we want, we can pass these two as specific characters to a new function, and then along with other function, other values like the result. So what we need is the result, the value, the equal index, and then also, well, probably that three would be enough. But passing the equal index in there, it's kind of, it's not bad, but there is another way, right? But well, actually, before I say that, let me just go ahead and create that two function. The other solution will be showing you later on. So at the end, we need a result here to return. So we want to say the result equals to single character options, right? I just make it up here, and then value, and then the equal index. So that makes this code essentially just doing the equal index and passing it in. So handle character single option, result pass in restate value string and equal index, which is a number, right? And let me quickly do that. So in that case, right, then what, right? Over here we still say if equal index is greater than 0, then we do these things, and then also here we have to do the same thing, right? So, or I would say essentially, if it's that, it will be doing this. If not, it will be just slice 1. Right, and then the same thing here. Else would be empty. Right. So basically like that. And then this function will be just handle single character option result value return. If we save it, it will work, but oh, it actually doesn't. What is the error? Oh. Right, it works. But we are not really doing much, right? We're doing this index and passing it in, and also these functions, you know, how should we name it, right? Is not, we are extracting one operation out of the thing, but we are not saving anything in terms of the branching, but we still need to do this branching. So the next thing we can do is then instead of this, we pass in the key string, which will be this code. That will be the key string, and then the last value will be that. Right, so that's separate like this. Right, so now this become key string, and then this will be a string, and then last values, which is a string array. Right, so key string, and then this become last values. Right, so yeah, this also kind of will work. But again, the problem is the naming of this. Well, in this case, it seems like we don't even need the value anymore. We already extracted, so we can remove that. But you know, that's kind of beside the point. The point is, yes, we're able to extract something, but these functions actually become a little bit more convoluted. Because we have the result, we have some key string, and then we have the last values, but then it encapsulates the internal values over here and do things. So essentially, while this does the refactoring and do, you know, follow DIY, don't repeat yourself, but it doesn't help too much in terms of maintaining the code and readability. Right. So another way to do this is well, and another thing we need to look at is this code, right? We have this check in both lines, which is not necessary. Then can we do better? The answer is yes, we can. Right, so what we can do is use tuples. And to say that, well, of course we can do the if statement if equals index greater than 0, then greater than 0, then we do one thing, right? Handle single character options, say result, and then put this over here, right, like this. Then this one like that, right, and then else. I really just do it like this, single line. This, keep this empty, right, like that. Is it still pass? Well, oh, I need to return. It will pass. But when looking at this code, is still, you know, why when equal index is greater than 0 I need to do this and that, and why it is not I have to do this. It's still not clear, right? So instead of doing that, let's get into the tuple solution, which we can name it in the tuple. We can name this is the key string, and then this is the last values. And here I can say, if that is the case, then I will return this and that. Let's put it in a different line, and then if not, then I will receive this or empty. Okay, so then in this case, this will become simply key string and last values. Did I nice one. I think I mix up something. Oh. That get it wrong. Oh, it passed. So using the ternary operation with tuple and array destructuring, we can put names on the statements or the inline values, and that makes it pretty concise of what we are doing. So now we are calling this handle single char options result with this key string and these last values. So that is one way you can do to simplify the code. So you can see that I'm just growing it organically. And the version I have is actually this. It's the same code, and instead of putting all the code in here into a separate function, I just keep it in here because I don't find this handle single character options is more readable than doing this, because I cannot find a good name for this. Because what does it mean by when you're passing the result with a key string and then with the last value? What about the, as I mentioned, what about the values in between? Why it is a last value? So these functions become so specific that it is not really usable, or it is nor it is easily nameable. So that's why I would say, although this goes against Uncle Bob's idea of splitting it into 3 to 4 lines per functions, to extract it until you cannot extract anymore. But I think doing it like that is okay, right? Because I am more keen on or like to keep the logic, left shift the logic to the higher level, so that the logic are not distributed throughout to a very deep tree of function calls. I want to have one or a few function calls that contain all of the business logics that I care of, or at least if I able to name it correctly. For example, like this add boolean option, and yeah, that's another thing that I add to replace the reduce, and here I'm using a recursion to do that instead of using the reduce. So if I have a way to name a function, a section of the code with a certain name that makes sense, then I would do it. But the case, to just replace this with a general handle this single character option with the key string and the last value, doesn't make too much sense to me. Right, at least to me it encapsulates too much of what is actually happening or what needs to happen. So it's better in my mind to keep this logic out here. We can name this, improve the naming of this, but I think this is pretty self-explanatory, right? You get the last key and split it to keys, and then set, so the only other thing I can do is, these two functions, let's say set option state, right? Set option state result and last key and last value, right? That's to replace these two lines. Yes, that can be done, and that's something that we can name it, right? So that's it. So that's the thing I want to share, and let's wrap up. So in this videos, I'm just showing you one way to do the refactoring using tuples, right? And we grow organically from the original code to this using ternary operator to create a list of lists which contain the values we want, and then we use array destructuring to provide some meaningful names to those values, right? And then we just use those values in here, and I am not extracting these 5 lines into a separate function because I can't find a good name for them. So that's my rule when doing refactoring. If I cannot find a good name for it, it probably means that function's naturally doing more than one thing. Right, and then if that is the case, instead of creating those artificial functions and calling them and passing some weird parameters in there, I much rather to keep them laid out like this in the at the caller level, right? And also, as mentioned, the only things that I can think of improving is changing this 2 line into something like a set option state function, but that's about it. I wouldn't do other things, to abstract to further abstract this to other functions, right? So that's it, and hope you enjoy this video and hope you learned something, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.